Hello everyone, I'm Eternal Flame here, and I'm here today to make this video to discuss two things. Why I think Yuji and Megumi are the only ones who actually have any chance whatsoever to truly defeat Sukuna once and for all, from a narrative perspective, and most of all, why I don't think Megumi is dead. So anyways, before we even get into this video, be sure to like, subscribe, like anime content like this. We've got a lot more on the channel, and let's begin the discussion on why I think Yuji and Megumi have the best chance when it comes to actually defeating Sukuna, and why those two are the ones destined to defeat Sukuna. Now, this video is not made to talk about how I think they're going to do it. I have already made a video on that, so be sure to watch that when you're done with this video. This video is actually just made to talk about the narrative around JJK, and how the narrative is always centered around the three characters of Yuji, Sukuna, and Megumi, in my opinion. Now, I can already hear some of you guys saying, oh, for Kenjaku's plan to work, the actual main villain, he needs to seal away Gojo. How does that revolve around them? Let me explain something to you all and how this all comes back to Yuji, Megumi, and Sukuna. Kenjaku never would have tried to seal Gojo if it wasn't for the reawakening of Sukuna. Sukuna was made to be the flag to show that it was time for the plan to begin, and that was exactly what he was, the insurance to make sure Kenjaku's plan would work. But that insurance would have never came to be if Yuji never consumed Sukuna's finger and reawakened Sukuna. That insurance never would have came to be if it wasn't for Megumi's choice to allow Yuji to live, despite the fact that he knew he shouldn't have, just because Yuji was a good person, so he chose to save someone unfairly, which, because of both of their actions, resulted in the death of their own mentor, the one who saved both of their lives, Gojo Satoru. And that is only one such example. Sumiki is dead because of Megumi and Yuji's actions. If Megumi just never chose to go with Yuji, despite knowing the fact Sukuna wanted him, or they allowed Yuta to come with him, there was a chance none of this would have happened. Or if Yuji never made the deal with Sukuna all the way back and just allowed himself to die back in the detention center, none of this would have happened. Yorozu never would have gotten the chance to take control over Sumiki, and Sukuna would have never gotten the chance to kill Sumiki through the process of that. Or the entirety of the death of Shibuya that all happened through Sukuna's domain. That is also all on both Yuji and Megumi, for Yuji not being strong enough, and for Megumi even allowing this to happen by sparing Yuji to begin with and summoning Mahoraga, thus making Sukuna use his domain to finish him out, and in the process allowing Sukuna to break Yuji even more mentally further. Every single action in Jujutsu Kaisen can be stemmed back all the way to Yuji and Megumi's choice to bring back Sukuna and to allow Yuji to live with Sukuna inside of him rather than killing him on the spot. After all, no one knows this better than Megumi and Yuji themselves, as the heated exchange in chapter 143 between Yuji and Megumi explained to us. Megumi says, "We aren't heroes fighting for justice, we're Jujutsu sorcerers. No one can ever truly judge us, so we must continually prove the worth of our existence, and we don't have the luxury of thinking about ourselves. We've just gotta save people." With Yuji thinking in his head, "No, Fushiguro, it's because as long as I'm around, you will suffer." Ultimately, every single death, every single action in Jujutsu Kaisen on the villain's side all happened because of Yuji and Megumi. Every single death is because of them, and because of their actions. And I think Gege is using this suffering in order to build up that Yuji and Megumi at least will have their final confrontation with Sukuna, that they will be the ones to fight against Sukuna. After all, there's something really interesting Gege said in an interview a while back. They had decided from the beginning to not let Yuji win too much, that they would have to break his heart before giving him that win and allowing him to grow up. And while they could be talking about the Mahito thing, I think this is more so referring to everything that's happened in Jujutsu Kaisen, the constant amount of damage Yuji has gotten to his psyche, as well as Megumi now as well. It's for these reasons that I truly believe Yuji and Megumi are destined to defeat Sukuna, because Sukuna has caused them so much suffering, and Sukuna has been the main thing that both Yuji and Megumi have only really cared about. Yuji has never once cared about Kenjaku, and it's literally only had one conversation with him. He has never been his main focus. Yuji's main focus has always been get strong enough to make sure he never needs to rely on Sukuna ever again, and now his main focus has been get strong enough to make sure no matter what, he can put that thing down when referring to Sukuna. And all of Megumi's suffering is because of Sukuna. His sister is dead because of Sukuna. Now, I do just want to talk about this. I genuinely don't think Megumi is dead, because unless we get it confirmed next chapter to us, I have doubts that Megumi is dead right now. I think the actual drawback to Sukuna transforming is it's going to be a lot easier to reach Megumi's soul, but that's at least my opinion on what that drawback is going to be. Mainly because there was a clear cost that Sukuna was halting on that he didn't want to activate it for at that fight, but we don't know what that cost was, so we will have to wait and see till the next chapter. I just right now have doubts that Megumi is actually dead, unless next chapter goes and confirms it for us that Megumi is dead. So what I believe the narrative of JJK has been building up is the constant amount of suffering that Yuji and Megumi had to deal with, and getting over the fact that they are responsible for this by bringing Sukuna back to life, and by making up for their mistake by putting Sukuna down once and for all, by putting down the monster and calamity they brought back into the modern era that caused all of this chaos and caused all of them to lose so many people. That is what I believe the buildup of their suffering is leading to, the suffering they had suffered up to this point. Because people are going to hate me for saying this, suffering is an extremely huge thing in Jujutsu Kaisen, and especially its power system. As Todo said a while back, taunting a sorcerer is enough to make a sorcerer who is on the heels in a battle give the losing sorcerer an advantage and allow them to win. Negative emotions is a huge thing in JJK and its power system, and that is just fact. For example, Yuta as a 6-year-old, because he saw her best friend dying, was able to recreate her as a vengeful cursed spirit that immediately got the rank of special grade. Now sure, yes, the family you come from is an important thing, but I would argue it's nowhere near as important as negative emotions within Jujutsu Kaisen, because of the levels that negative emotions allow you to ascend to, and the suffering is just one of those huge emotions, because of everything they've had to go through up to this point, and all of the cursed energy that will be pooling in as a result, allowing them to ascend. Furthermore, they just both have the best tools and kits necessary for taking out Sukuna and having the best chance against him, with both of them being completely surrounded in Sukuna's cursed energy. Megumi having soaked in Sukuna's cursed energy of 20 fingers equivalent for a month straight, with Yuji having had 15 fingers of Sukuna for several weeks, and Sukuna in him in total for several months. All of that to help Yuji and Megumi, which makes it so Sukuna's attacks are much less effective on them in comparison to everyone else. Furthermore, Yuji still has a lot of mysteries, for example, how he is linked to Sukuna, how Sukuna remembers him, why Kenjaku has so much pride in Yuji in comparison to everyone else, for example, Choso, etc. But I'm not here to talk about that, but I'm just here to talk about the fact that this is a thing in the background, that Gege has been cooking for both Yuji and Megumi and setting them to be able to defeat Sukuna. However, there is one reason that I am so much more confident that Yuji and Megumi will defeat Sukuna, and it's not even because of Yuji and Megumi. If you guys noticed throughout this video, I have repeatedly been saying everything Sukuna has done and the villains have done is because of Yuji and Megumi, and that is wrong. While yes, they are the ones who brought back the bomb who caused all of this chaos, they are not the ones who triggered the bomb. They are not the ones who was the bomb. The bomb is Sukuna. The one who caused all this chaos, all this suffering towards the world and everyone is Sukuna. All because Sukuna feels he has the right to, because he is the strongest and he is the only one who deserves to. As Sukuna himself explains to Yuji so long ago in chapter 214, why do such weaklings cling so fiercely to life? How can a creature that falls apart at a touch say that it always wants to be happy? The helpless have no choice but to swallow the suffering life gives them. To put it easy for you guys to understand, what Sukuna is effectively saying is, because he is the strongest, because he is unstoppable, only he gets to decide the fate of the world, and everyone else has to deal with the suffering that he dishes out. He is consequence-free because no one can stop him, because he is the strongest. He gets to enjoy life. He gets to enjoy life and do whatever he pleases because he is the strongest. This is also supported by something Sukuna said a while back. Any hierarchy not led by strength is a boring one, because Sukuna would always be at the top of a hierarchy led by strength because he is the strongest. However, I believe that is destined to be his downfall, that the suffering he has dished on to the weak, the people that he believed was weaker than him and had no right to live, being Megumi and Yuji, is going to end up paying him back, and is going to be ending up the ones to defeat him. After all, Sukuna has never once been defeated. As we find out eventually, he was the one who turned himself into a finger, or he did it with Kenjaku's assistance. Furthermore, Sukuna was never defeated by people weaker than him. Even when all the Swords of the Heian era got stronger when fighting against him, they all failed nonetheless. continuing to prove Sukuna right more and more of each generation. That he is alone is the only one who gets to decide the fate of the world because he is the strongest. I don't believe that Yuji should become the strongest in the series, or Megumi for that matter. I believe Sukuna should stay as the strongest of the series, but I also think it would be beautifully narratively fitting if Sukuna ended up losing to two people he was weaker than, because together they were able to overcome the strongest suffering, the suffering that the strongest had dished out for them because he was the strongest, ending up giving him his own consequence that he has been so due for, and also proving him wrong in the process. Proving to him that weaklings have just as much right as the strong to be happy by overpowering the strongest and putting the strongest down once and for all. By having it so, the people who ended up putting Sukuna down once and for all was one of the people who Sukuna just basically was like, alright, I'm gonna be able to use your body better than even you can, so I'm gonna take it for myself and I'm gonna take that ability for myself. Being Megumi Fushiguro, and the other person who he saw as so incredibly weak and pathetic that he wanted to cut him down for trying to defy against the strong and directly tell him his own morality right before he tried to kill him, being Yuji Itadori. Furthermore, I think the narrative has been especially set up for Yuji and Megumi, despite being weaker than Sukuna, to especially defeat him. The reason that I think so is because of the fact of the new introduction of when you're attacked by your own cursed energy, it is weaker on you, thus allowing it for it to be possible that even if Yuji and Megumi can't actually match against Sukuna, they are durable enough to survive his attacks through Sukuna's own cursed energy coating them, another consequence of his own action and another consequence of his own arrogance. Especially on the case of Yuji, when Sukuna had the chance to finish him off all the way in chapter 215, and Umami suggests if they should finish him off, but Sukuna instead chooses to fly away and laugh at Yuji in the process, which I think is going to be his ultimate downfall. That because he believes he is the strongest and he can dish out suffering however he so pleases, he is destined to lose because of that. He is destined to die because he is the strongest and he believes only the strongest has any right to be happy and deserves to make other people suffer. However, that's just my opinion on why I think Yuji and Megumi are destined to win against Sukuna. I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are down below. I want to hear if you guys think that Megumi is going to live or not. Or if you guys just think that Yuji and Megumi and everyone else are destined to lose to Sukuna because Sukuna is too strong. Whatever, I want to hear what you guys think. And tell me in the comment section down below. I'm going to see y'all later. Peace.